Welcome
Yep.
back to another episode. I'm going to break down week 10, our week 10. I think it's week 13. Is that right, Matt? Of the college football season.
Yeah, it's week 13.
Another game, another week of cancellations, rescheduling, all that kind of nonsense. Pretty much, we had two of our games that we originally had laid out. State and Wisconsin both got canceled. Other than that, we got to see some good games. I'm gonna go ahead and say it right off the rip. Did anybody watch Maryland versus Indiana?
No.
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 Okay. None of us have zero. We had 0% knowledge about that game. So everybody but Alex got that one correct. We're gonna clean the slate there. All right. Now on the games that we watched. Matt, you want to give us the first one?
Yeah, first one was my Kentucky Wildcats against Justin's 6th-ranked Florida Gators. The game started out a defensive struggle. It was Kentucky got up 10-7, but then after a Kadarius Toney pretty much faked the entire Kentucky punt team to one side, and Kadarius Toney was left over there by himself with Max Duffy, our punter, and returned it to make it 14-10. Up until that point, Kentucky had pretty much stayed in the game and was dominating the game. But until then, after that, it turned out to be all Florida in the second half. Kyle Trask continued his hopeful Heisman season with 3 touchdown passes, all 3 to his favorite target, Kyle Pitts, who Florida got back this week after a 2-game stint of being in concussion protocol. But another week, another game where Kentucky's offense struggled again. So against a top 10 team and a top 5 offense in the country. Kentucky's got some serious issues on offense that Stoops is going to have to look at when this season's over. So Fire Eddie Gran really hit hard on Twitter this week, and I was part of it. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. For Eddie Gran at this point, again, I think it originally was his play calling that had Kentucky fans pissed off. But I think at this point you have to look at the talent that Kentucky puts on the field, and there's no identity at all. And that's got to be the most frustrating thing for Kentucky fans. You got quarterbacks that don't get developed. We've had tons of quarterbacks transfer out of the program that one of them could have been good enough to be better than Terry Wilson. You kind of just missed a lot at the quarterback position for a number of years, and then you just don't have an identity. Everybody in the country knows Kentucky's a run first team, but then they get away from that, and it's just it's ridiculous at this point. The game itself, though, I wouldn't say it was a defensive struggle. I don't know if you want to start defense in the first half. You saw Dan Mullen light up Todd Grantham on the sideline. That was beautiful to see for Florida fans. I'm not too much of a guy that's on Todd Grantham's ass. I think he dials up the right call sometimes. It just people don't get there. But my biggest problem is he doesn't dial up the call fast enough. I mean, we're fast. I remember one play in the game where we were. There was 3 seconds left on the play clock, and our defense was still looking to the sideline for a play call. As a defense, this is ridiculous. It wasn't like Kentucky changed the play or anything. They were literally the entire time looking to the sideline with their hands up, like, what's the call? And then they couldn't get it in, and luckily Kentucky saw the play clock, and they called timeout. But on the other side of the field, Florida dominated as usual. Kind of probably one of their worst performance as far as efficiency standpoint. Kentucky really did a good job at putting a little bit more pressure in Trask's face and making him make longer, like those long routes not be so open. And then Florida in the second half, they probably could have put up a bunch more points, but you could tell that they were just trying to run the ball and really forced the run in a lot of situations, like 3rd and 9, and they ran the ball. Knocking on Kentucky's doorstep. So. Good game. Obviously, a few years ago, we would have been talking about this game being like, a really good performance by Florida's offense. Poor defense and performance. So it is what it is now. I mean, we're at week 8, and we know what Florida's identity is try to outscore everybody and just hope that's enough. Case, did you get this game?
Yeah, I watched most of it. From Kentucky's standpoint, it was very similar to Alabama game in a lot of ways, where you come out and you're competitive at the beginning of the game, and then just the bottom falls out, and then you just don't have the explosiveness on offense to keep up with offense like Florida's or Alabama's.
Oh yeah, I think that's a great point, because I mean we all remember the years with Wesley Woodyard, Keenan Burton, Dickie Lyons Jr. I mean, you had leaders on that team. I don't think there is a leader on this team. I think a few years back, you saw Jonathan Allen. You saw professionals, on the field. Jonathan Allen. Is it Josh Allen or Jonathan Allen?
Josh Allen. Yeah.
Josh Allen. And Benny Snell and Lynn Bowden. You had professional mindset. People that didn't get rattled off of a punt return for a touchdown. Don't get rattled for a fumble on a field goal attempt. I think Kentucky's maturity level is pretty poor.
Terry Wilson has been disappointing too.
Yeah. Very, very disappointing. Yeah. I mean, we all expected him to come in and be pretty good. I mean, not go out there and shock the world. No. We thought
he looks worse than he did 2 years ago to me.
Yeah, definitely in the 40s.
Yeah, he's playing very hesitant, and he's been that way all season. He's never been a good downfield thrower, but even his short and intermediate passes have been very questionable.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell that somebody's coached him up to stay in the pocket a little bit longer too, because that was the biggest bugaboo for Florida a few years back. Was Terry Wilson would roll out on every other play, and Florida's pressure just couldn't get there, or wouldn't come from the right side of the field. So, yeah, I think Terry is definitely regressed under that system. All right. Well, we all have that one, right? Big shocker.
Yeah.
Casey, you want to give us the next one? Auburn.
Yep. Number 22, Auburn at number 1, Alabama. This is pretty much what I expected. Alabama just completely destroyed Auburn. Auburn just doesn't have, for some reason, the last 5 years or so, like they just seem to struggle on offense in big games like this. I think I saw a stat. Gus Malzahn is like 0-14 against Georgia, Alabama, and LSU on the road. So that's just unacceptable at Auburn. I understand those are good teams and tough games, but you can't just never win on the road against your rival for 7 years.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
You seem to struggle on offense for some reason. I saw someone say, like in this modern era of college football, like for Auburn, offense is like rocket science, where other teams is like a coloring book. And like it's very true. Like everything is so difficult. Like schematic wise, it seems. And they seemed a little conservative in that game. They were trying to run the ball with backup running backs who just weren't getting anything. And then Bo Nix, he didn't play terrible, but it wasn't good. And Seth Williams didn't have a good game. And then on defense, 42 points. Like that's about what you're going to give up against Alabama's offense right now. Like you're just going to have to score more than that. And Auburn just doesn't have that on offense right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think Malzahn, he, just like I said with Kentucky, he's got so many pieces that just don't fit. I've told you that, Casey, in the past. It just doesn't make sense, some of the players that he puts out there on the field. He's got a big go-get-it receiver. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's got all the size, but, Williams is one of those guys that's, could go out there and win 50-50 ball against a lot of people. Physical, sure-handed. And then he's got a speedster, a jet sweep kind of guy. And then he's got two running backs that don't really fit ground and pound. I know they're trying to mix it up a little bit more, but Boobie Whitlow, that's his name, right? Is it Boobie?
Last year.
No, the guy you guys got now. I'm sorry, the freshman.
Tank Bigsby.
Oh, Tank. Yeah, I knew there was a nickname in there, but he just doesn't he's got solid numbers against some of the lower competition teams, but he's not one of those traditional, 3 yards in a cloud of dust running backs that Auburn usually puts out there. So
Yeah.
he's just got a bunch of missing pieces. He's got a bunch of pieces that just don't fit together. And then Bo Nix is the catalyst of it all. He's just far too inconsistent with his play for that to even work. To even consider that to happen.
It's disappointing because Alabama is just like miles ahead of Auburn right now. I know Auburn can beat them at home occasionally, but I mean, when you're just getting beaten down like that, that's just disappointing from an Auburn perspective, because it wasn't always like this.
No, I remember the high five low tide. I remember that. I mean, with Auburn perennially destroying Alabama for the national. And I was wondering, how was that even a rivalry? I mean, Alabama wasn't even competing in those games.
Yeah.
Those years are over. Nick Saban's adjusted. He's adapted. And, I mean, nobody's beating Alabama most years.
Yeah.
And let alone, Auburn right now with they're just – it's just, I mean, you change the offensive coordinators how many times in the past 2 years? At least the play caller. I mean, you've done it like 4 or 5 times.
Like 3 years.
8 years.
Yeah, and then Gus Malzahn's like, it's hard calling the plays again, and then the next year he hires someone, and the next year he'll call them again. But a lot of Auburn fans suspect that like Gus is really controlling it, calling the plays anyways.
Every year.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but some people suspect that.
Yeah. Matt, did you see the game?
Yeah, I saw it. I sat down, watched it from start to finish. I knew Auburn was in trouble going into this game, but when they just had a huge miscommunication there on Bama's first drive, and Devontae Smith, who's arguably the best receiver in the SEC, is wide fucking open. I'm like, yeah, Auburn's in trouble. And like Casey said, their offense has just been so inconsistent this year, especially in a few years past. Casey, I know I've asked you this several times over the past couple of years, but like, all right, say even if you guys finish out 7-3, like, is that enough for Gus to stick around, or do you guys think you make a move, or do you guys have to lose maybe end the season 6-4 or something for him to get out?
I think they'll keep him unless Auburn loses like all the rest of their games, which they're not going to, because they'll beat Mississippi State at least. But then I think he'll enter next year like with his seat basically on fire. If he gets off to a bad start next year, then I think he's in trouble. But I think they'll keep him.
Yeah, he's a big trouble.
You think we would be in a different world if that LSU game didn't happen?
If they lost that game, I think his seat would be a lot hotter right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving right on. So again, Ohio State versus Illinois got canceled. So that would have been a hell of a time to pick Illinois for the upset. Just pray for the cancel. Couldn't be wrong in that case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have to give me this one back. I mean, I watched a little bit of this one, but I'm sure you watched this, the Notre Dame North Carolina game.
Yeah, I actually watched a majority of this game. It was a really good game. North Carolina proved how competitive it can be in the ACC, and they're definitely going to be a team that's going to be up there in the next year or two. I think, in my personal opinion, that's going to be given. That's going to be up there with Miami and teams like that would hopefully can compete with Clemson eventually. But Notre Dame, North Carolina ended up getting shut out in the second half. They were tied 17-17 at the half, but Notre Dame ended up putting together two good drives to end up taking the lead and end up winning 31-17. And I'm pretty sure now Notre Dame's probably just a shoe-in to go to the ACC title game against Clemson. So that's what we're looking at again. But
I think that
my question is now if –
sorry, I was just saying that
my question is now –
I don't think Miami's got a chance now. I think it's over.
Yeah, Miami doesn't have a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
But my thing is now, if Notre Dame and Clemson, like they meet in the ACC title game and Notre Dame somehow knocks off Clemson again, Clemson's out, right? They're not going to go to the playoff or anything?
Yeah. With two losses, yeah, they're definitely out. There'd be no question about that. I mean, there would have to be a lot that goes around the country.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, they'll probably throw it UC or BYU in there if it came down to a bunch of two-loss teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Notre Dame could beat them again. I don't think it's very likely still yet. I mean, I'm not saying that Clemson's a world beater or anything like that, but at full strength, particularly on defense, Clemson's a bear. It's something that I don't know. I mean, Ian Book was able to escape a lot of pressure from North Carolina all game long, but I don't think he could escape those guys they got in Clemson. And those linebackers are filthy. They're the best linebacker core I've seen in a long time in college football. They're not the best cover corner or cover linebackers, so you get a matchup against a inside slot, or, just get some weird matchups where you roll running backs out or tight ends out. I mean, that could be interesting to see a team do that. But I saw this game. North Carolina's offense was so frustrating to watch. Notre Dame did the exact same thing the entire game. Just bring heavy pressure. Just free run the linebackers the entire game. And then North Carolina didn't adjust one bit. Not one bit. Didn't fill the zone. Slot, slant into inside of the field. He didn't do anything. He just didn't run it down now. Do a fly down now on the inside receiver. They didn't do anything. I mean, there's multiple ways to combat that kind of pressure. And they just said, you know what? We're just going to run what we want to run, regardless of how much pressure to put it on. It was terrible to watch. That's all I got. Ian Book's ability to improvise, and then Notre Dame's ability to just absolutely blow up the backfield on every play. That's about all I could get out of this game.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you watch this game?
Yeah, I actually picked Notre Dame to win this game. Not Notre Dame, North Carolina. The pick, I had them in the upset. Just had a feeling, and it looked good at the beginning. It looked like it was going to be like a shootout for the ages, and after like the first quarter, because like both teams just scored so quick on like their first like 4 drives, and then the scoring just like stopped for a while, and then like Matt said, Notre Dame put together 2 drives in the second half. But yeah, Ian Book was impressive at escaping pressure, finding guys downfield, and Notre Dame continues to look good. Yeah.
One thing that I will say, I know you would have had to watch the game and watched it like intently at the time that I was watching it. But I remember one of the announcers, it was the one where he just kind of decided on throw it to the running back or something that. Backfield.
Yeah.
And he said, I can't remember. He said it's like only Ian Book can do that or something like that. I was like, yeah, because any other quarterback would get benched for doing something that fucking dumb. Like the only quarterbacks that wouldn't have done that would have been, Trask, you know, Jones, Lawrence, and Fields. And they're too smart to just take the sack. Like it was an amazing play, but like the risk reward potential out in that situation is astronomical.
Yeah.
Like they were
It was only like a 5-yard pass, wasn't it?
yeah, and it was in their own
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
With the guy on him. Just, oh god. Yeah, I'm the one to pick Notre Dame surprisingly in this game. I think everybody was. It was a solid pick going into the game, but again, North Carolina didn't adjust. So I'm sure people that picked all you that picked that North Carolina had been getting frustrated because they probably should have won that game. It's just they didn't adjust a single bit on offense, and that's why they lost.
Yeah.
And then I didn't mention this. Maryland, Indiana. Alex had that one wrong too. Yeah, he picked Maryland in that game. All right. Casey, you want to give us this last one? Texas A&M, LSU.
Oh man. Yep. LSU at number 5, Texas A&M. LSU was the most frustrating offensive performance I've seen in a long time.
I love that.
Kellen Mond played like crap pretty much, but they were still able to muster up enough points to beat LSU. That's about all I got in this one. I mean, it was
yeah.
I was watching it just hoping for a good game, so I was kind of rooting for LSU to like score some points, but it just wasn't happening.
No,
they threw a pick six. What was that? The third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, which really put it away.
They were down 13-0 at that time. So this game was terrible offensively on both sides. I remember I was sitting there texting you back and forth, Casey, and at one point in the game, I'm sitting here the whole game, I'm sitting here talking shit about TJ Finley. Like TJ Finley's throws were so awful. Like every single pass, it was like 5 yards over the guy's head. Underthrown, just turning around, throwing that kind of shit all game long. And then I looked up the stat sheet, and Kellen Mond had less passing yards than TJ Finley.
LSU couldn't run the ball at all.
No, which is surprising because that guy's had a really good year. That number 4 that they I was shocked by that. I knew that the guy that they had at Texas A&M was filthy though. Vila or whatever his name is, the defensive tackle they got. They move him all over.
Yeah,
he's an animal, and so is their running back. Their tight end didn't have a great game because Kellen Mond was on most of the game. But their tight end is one of the best in the country at Texas A&M. Matt, did you catch any of this game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I caught some of it. I'll be honest with you guys. I lost interest in it really quickly because it was just boring. My God, it was just. I think one point Kellen Mond was like 9 of 28 for like 85 yards. I mean, how bad do you have to be to just? I mean, good Lord. I mean, this was just an ugly offensive game, like you both said, and it just LSU's got a big problem at quarterback right now. I know their original starter is hurt, but that Finley guy, this is actually one. Finley was actually the QB. I heard some LSU fans like vibe him for, like they wanted him to start.
Yeah,
but it's like everything I've seen from him. It's like why I've watched him against A&M and Auburn, and it's like why? What's he done that makes you all want him to play?
Yeah. That's what I was saying at the beginning of the season. And then I thought they just made the change. I didn't know that Brennan.
Yeah.
I didn't know Miles Brennan went out. I didn't know he got hurt in the Missouri game, but that's what everybody was saying. And people were like, the kid was throwing 350 yards a game, and people were calling for him to be finished. Now look at him. I mean, that's ridiculous. kind of reap what you sow sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like I get it. You want where you pretty LSU fans, especially with losing week one the way they did against Mississippi State. I'm sure LSU fans want to just prepare for the future. But if you would have had Miles Brennan for most of the season, you would have probably ended up with the 2 losses. You know, you would have ended up with 3, maybe 4 losses, depending on how the Florida game goes. If you would have had him playing, because you would have, you know, they already lost to Mississippi State, they lost to Missouri, and then potentially Alabama. But I don't see them like with a quarterback who can throw for that many yards a game. That Auburn game would have been really close. Texas A&M game would have been really close. But alas, LSU football just sucks, man. It's
Yeah.
it is terrible.
Badly. Yeah.
I picked them to win, and I went ahead and said it. I said that they were going to win by a couple of scores. I thought that LSU's defense really turned the corner, which they did. But their offense, I mean, you just look up and down the field, their offense has all the skill players to still be on a competitive, you know, competing for an SEC championship. But they don't have a quarterback. But they don't have an offensive line.
Yeah.
So you get what you get, you know. Any other games we didn't pick? Oh yeah, I'm the only one that picked LSU. Too. Any
I
other
thought
games?
about picking them.
Thought about picking LSU.
Yeah. Joe, watch any of the Egg Bowl?
Hell no. I said it whenever they.
No, I didn't see any of that one.
It was a pretty good game.
Was it?
Yeah, it was kind of what you would expect. Like some points were scored. Ole Miss hit a couple of long balls on Mississippi State, and Mississippi State had a chance at the end, but I think there was a fumble on the last drive. They were trying to tie it. But yeah, they were down by 10 or something, 14, and then with 2 minutes left, and they scored and got the ball back real quick, and then I think they turned it over, and Ole Miss won.
Yeah, when they announced those
Okay.
2 coaches, I already knew, because I mean the Egg Bowl got hyped up 5 years ago when Dak Prescott was still out there, when they had Ole Miss had that ridiculous defense and some Quan Treadwell. I forget who the quarterback was back then, but they hyped the hell out of that thing up, and it really stuck. I mean, you could tell they definitely pitched it pretty good on ESPN and all that. So everybody tunes in every year. And, of course, last year was an all-time classic where the guy does the excessive celebration dog piss thing. And then they missed the extra point. I mean, that's where you build those rivalry memories right there. But, yeah, when they announced it, I was like, this is going to be a dog shit game. You got 2 coaches that come in. I think both of these coaches are gimmicks, but Lane Kiffin's really, really proven me wrong. I mean, he does look like he's got a mature offensive mind. He's shown flashes of that, but I mean, what he did at Tennessee wasn't really sexy. What he did at USC wasn't very sexy. I didn't really like what he did at Alabama. I mean, it didn't really take him to that next level. I know people like to give him credit for doing the spread. I think it was just the reflection of what the SEC was.
Yeah. He tried to get too cute at times at Alabama when they should have just ran the ball with Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Those years, Alabama flat out dominated every team they played except for Ohio State. I mean, pretty much every single team that they played during those years that they dominated. So you can put, you probably could pick Eddie Gran and threw him in there, and they probably won a bunch of games. But he's really proven me wrong. I mean, Ole Miss does have a interesting to see what they would do without Matt Corral. If they had played John Rice Plumlee, how creative could Lane Kiffin be remains to be seen. But he's definitely impressed me. Did you guys watch any of the Northwestern Michigan State game?
Mm-mm.
I saw a little bit of it.
I only saw it on the scoreline. I was like,
Yeah.
I think I tried to catch the tail end. I knew they were up 5 months. I think Matt texted us to let us know about that. Yeah. Georgia's got a quarterback.
Yeah.
Dollar short.
Georgia
Taylor.
finally got their QB. Yeah.
That off-season hype train's going to be nuts.
I had a feeling Northwestern was going to lose to somebody random.
Yeah.
They're not explosive, so like they're not going to like blow teams out, you know. So you're always in the game against them.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I just didn't see anybody on their schedule that was going to be able to do it. I felt like they could play a bad game, but it was just I don't know into it looking at their schedule.
Michigan State was able to score on them. For some reason, Wisconsin couldn't do anything.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's I mean,
Yeah.
We saw what Wisconsin was able to do against Michigan and Illinois. Illinois is what Illinois is, and Michigan is what they are. But it's interesting how Northwestern. I think it was just. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's a rivalry game. Not something they would list as, but they've definitely been two of the best teams in that division consistently.
Yeah.
I know Iowa jumped up there, and I know Purdue jumped up there for a year, and then Minnesota jumped up there last year. But Northwestern's usually the second or third best team in that conference or that division, and then Wisconsin's usually the best. So I thought that would be enough motivation for Northwestern to win. But I thought Wisconsin's offense would just go off the rail. Well, any other ones? Maybe some. I mean, Tennessee got their schedule.
Penn State got their first win.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Against Harbaugh, man.
Yeah.
Yep. Harbaugh just solidifying his he's losing his job at the end of the year.
Yeah.
You think so for sure, Matt?
I think so, man. I mean, they're 2-4 now. I know it's a crazy year. I understand that, but I mean, it's not stopped a couple teams from firing coaches already in college or pro. And I mean, come on, you had to go to 3 overtimes to beat Rutgers, who has one conference win in their entire history in the Big Ten, and that was over Michigan State in their opener. And then you go and lose to – I understand Penn State's a powerhouse and they have a great tradition, but Penn State was 0-5 going into that. To them, you weren't even in this game at all. Penn State just did whatever it wanted. I mean, the score didn't show it, but Penn State just dominated this game. Yeah.
I'm shocked by how bad both of those teams are.
Penn State in particular.
Yeah.
Michigan, I understood because they lost a lot.
Yeah.
But Penn State's the one that's really confusing to me. I think they did end up losing, either opting out or injuries. They ended up losing like 2 of their best returning players. But you would think with their recruiting, both teams are great.
Yeah.
Michigan had a really low recruiting class at one point. I mean, for Michigan, I think it was like 15th or something like that. But yeah, it's getting bad, man. I think that
You think James Franklin might get fired?
No, I don't think anybody.
I don't think so. I
don't think anybody in that conference will get fired. Let's just put it out. I think with a 5-game sample size at most, because so many games are going to cancel. I think they're going to end up getting all their games in. If they lose 2 more games, then yeah, maybe. But I don't think so. With such a weird year where they started, they were gonna start in August playing football. So they got all ready to go, and then all of a sudden they canceled. and then they restarted practice and stuff like that. And then you just get into a slump. So I don't know. 2 straight years of Penn State losing their best players on offense. You just get in a slump, and I don't think they have enough to fire him. Penn State was pretty bad before he came. I mean,
Yeah.
Paterno was a great coach, but it's been years since we saw Larry Johnson on the field. You know what I mean? It's like they've been pretty bad since 2003, 2004. They've had some years where they're in Outback Bowl and stuff like that, but before James Franklin got there, they had been pretty bad for a number of years.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. Again, if you guys like what you're seeing, hit the like button, subscribe. We are going to do a basketball preview, and we'll have that coming up. Probably going to upload it tomorrow, but be on the lookout for that. We are going to do some basketball games. Casey, you going to join us for a little bit of North Carolina basketball preview?
Yeah, I haven't looked too much into basketball yet, but
I'm going to be honest. I'm really green. I mean, definitely Matt's going to take this rodeo show and run with it. He's probably watched about 5 or probably. How many games have you watched, would you say, Matt? I mean, not just Kentucky.
How many games what?
How many games have you watched overall?
Let's see. Season's 5 days in now. I've probably watched both Kentucky games. I watched